Hello everyone. Today we are at the beautiful book cafe, the English Book Depot, with the author Ratna Manucha. Her book, A Combat Chuckles, offers a unique and refreshing look at the humor within the armed forces. Through lived experiences, the books capture a side of military life that is rarely spoken in these times. It's about lightness, its wit, and its deeply human moments. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you with us. So, talking about your book, Combat Chuckles, what first drew you to explore humor within the armed forces as a theme?
I've been writing humor for quite some time now, and I'm basically a light-hearted person at heart. And I enjoy humor. And I find that I find humor in the oddest of situations. So I've been writing humor columns for some time. And my last book was Unfiltered. You know about that. We did that recently also, which it came out last year. And which was a compilation of all my humorous articles which were published in the Garhwal Post and the Times of India, and that book did very well. And my publisher suggested, and he said, since I'm from a services background, my husband's from the army, so he suggested that why don't you do a compiler book? Why don't you do a book on humor from the services? And he says, get them together and just do it. He left it vague. He didn't tell me exactly what is to be done, but he put that seed in my mind, and I thought, why not? So I started working on it last year, and this is the result. It's a beautiful, beautiful little book, and it's got 21 stories and 3 poems. 21 stories by service officers, retired from the three services, Army, Navy, and Air Force, all about humorous incidents which happened during their time, either in the academy or in the services. So it's real life stories, and it's just a wonderful book.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how did Combat Chuckles come together as a collection? Was there a particular process behind the gatherings and the collections?
So, well, yes, when he did put that seed in my mind that, okay, start working on it, I took my time. I wasn't very sure. I said I'll do it, but I wasn't putting it right at the top of my charts. Like I was other work was going on side by side. So I said let's see. So I started off with my husband's course mates, then and I got some good responses. Then it sort of took on, and then I said, why am I just thinking of the army? Why not Air Force? Why not Navy? Now I had no connections in the Air Force, Navy. Then I started, like Chinese whispers. I tell you, you tell somebody else tells somebody else, and then so on and so forth. And so began a long, long connection of telephone calls and talking to them, explaining to them. And I must say, they were all very, very positive and very sweet. And if they couldn't come on board, they would always put me through to somebody else. I don't think I can write. There's somebody else who can, probably tell you something. That happened. Then I said, why not women? So why am I being so gender specific? And now, I mean, earlier, of course, there were only men in the services, but now there are women too. So I tried to tap a lot of women, but sadly, they were not very responsive, or maybe I didn't tap the correct ones. But I did manage to get one. I got an Upma on board, and she gave me a story, which I worked on. So that's how it came about. And finally, during the last 3 or 4 months, I think I was totally charged up when I realized, okay, it's just, it's coming across very well and it's ready. Then I was working night and day on it, and I just wanted it to finish off so that I could move on to my other projects. That's how it came about. So, all thanks to the contributors who were very, very positive.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, as you have written humor in your literature books, you have written books before in humor also. So, what do you think humor stands today in literature? Do you feel it's often underestimated as a serious form of expression?
Yes, I do. As Indians, I feel that as Indians, I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but I think we are a very, very dark kind of a people. We are not very humorous in life, and we don't. and we hate it if somebody sort of laughs at us. We don't like that. We love laughing at other people or cracking jokes at other people, but we do that self-deprecatory humor, which is so important in life, which I believe in. I don't think we have that. We move around with this, pall of gloom around our heads that, oh, life is, very, very heavy and we have to carry the burdens of the world, which is sad because humor does play a very, very important part, not just in literature, I think in life in general. And that's something which I've been talking about for years. Even when I was running a school and I used to talk to my parents, the parents of the little children, I would find them, not very happy looking in the morning. And I'd say, you're coming to school in the morning and you're still not happy. How is the day going to go by? So I think it's very important to take life a little lightly and laugh at the little things.
Yeah, sure. So, humor and the armed forces can seem unlikely companions. Why do you think they coexist so strongly? So, how this idea came to you with the armed forces?
Well, I belong to the armed forces, and I've seen that in the most stressful of situations, they live through some very, very stressful times. Their postings and their things that they go through, the wars and the other things that they go through, it's stressful for them. And yet, in that high stress, suddenly something happens which at that point of time may not look very humorous or may, give them a minor heart attack. But later on, when they look back on it, and then these are stories which carry on in the army, they carry on from generations. You remember that year and what fun. And then they all laugh about it, which is so sweet and so charming. Such lovely stories, which when you look back are actually now funny. So, in fact, I would like to just read a little, if I may, from the editor's note, which I wrote for the army. I wrote this in the book. Between drills, duties, and deployments, there exists a parallel universe where laughter marches in step with discipline and jokes survive even the toughest inspections. Service humor has a special flavor. It is sharp, spontaneous, occasionally outrageous, and always honest. It shows up in nicknames that stick for decades. This is true. Everybody's known by a nickname, And stories that grow taller with every retelling, and observations so perfectly timed that they deserve medals of their own. The stories and sketches in this collection come from across the Army, Navy, and Air Force, proving that no matter the uniform or the environment, a good joke travels fast and ages well. The part which you asked me, this book does not diminish the gravity of service. In fact, it honors it by acknowledging the full emotional spectrum of those who wear the uniform. This book is for those who serve, those who have served, and those who simply enjoy a good laugh. And to go back to your earlier question, I suddenly remembered what I really needed to tell you was when I was doing this book, I really wanted to make it for also the young adults. Everybody reads this book. It is for all ages, but also for the young adults who are thinking of joining a profession or at the threshold of deciding what to do in their lives. I thought it would be a very good thing for them to get a different perspective of the army, because they all see, oh, bahut ragda hai, bahut rigorous life hai, and they have to go to battle, they get posted to field stations, they'll go to Siachen. That is, yes, a very relevant part of it. But what about the light-hearted moments, the humor behind the scenes, which nobody sees? So I thought this would give them a good perspective, and I'm very keen on this. I hope this reaches out to people, who are school owners and institutions. If they could give this book as gifts to the children, people who are winning awards, you do give books. Why not give Combat Chuckles so that also they enjoy a good laugh and they also get a sneak peek into the life of the services? This was my aim in doing the book, actually. When I started doing it and I started working on it and I started developing it, I was very clear on the kind of language I would use and what would go into it, because Fauji humor can also be a little brusque and a little, words which are not, we would not like to use them in public. They'll use it very casually without meaning much. But I sort of was clear that we would put it in such a language that the young adults would also read it and be influenced by it or to join the services, hopefully. So I'm very keen that this people who are reading this, and if they can, give it as gifts to children, it would be really great.
Yeah. So as you talked about sneaking into armed force people life, so despite the humor while engaging with these stories and experiences, did your understanding of discipline or strength in any way changed, and how?
I think I changed the others because I myself am very disciplined in life, and I do credit it to the army. I credit a lot to my school maybe, but I think the army disciplined me. I mean, taught me what I am today, and I'm very disciplined where time is concerned, where deadlines are concerned, everything. So I think I disciplined my contributors, though they are all 4Gs, and I would tell them, okay, this is the deadline, I want it by this time, and then I'd get on their backs and give it, and all that happened. So I don't think anybody disciplined me. I think I disciplined the whole lot of them, and I think they'll agree if you ever meet them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences for the book. It's been such a thoughtful and engaging conversation. Combat Chuckles. They truly, this is like truly offers a refreshing perspective on strength, resilience, and the quiet role of humor plays in our lives and disciplined spaces. So thank you for so much for joining us today, ma'am. And thank you so much, everyone. The copies of this book is available at the book cafe, the English book.
And I
cafe.
also gifted it to the governor the other day. The
Yeah.
governor was very gracious in accepting the book. So that was a very big, happy moment for me. And I do hope he reads it. And thank you, Sneha, for having me. Thank you, English
Thank you.
Book Depot, always.
Thank you, everyone.